quiet one, the strong one, the one who handles it, because that got you approval without the risk of needing anything. And now you're stuck, because the mask that kept you safe is also the cage that keeps you starving. You tell yourself you're independent, but you don't feel free, do you? You feel managed. Like you're constantly managing your voice, your face, your reactions, your hope. Hope is the one you police hardest. You've got a whole internal security team for hope. Don't get excited. Don't trust it. Don't count on it. Don't believe it. Because last time you believed it, it embarrassed you. And you remember embarrassment like other people remember fire. It branded you. The laugh someone didn't hide. The pause before they answered your message. The way they acted like your vulnerability was inconvenient, like you were asking for too much by asking to be seen. So you did what you always do. You pulled the curtains, you dimmed the lights, you told yourself you didn't need an audience anyway. But you do. You're human. You were made to be witnessed, not worshipped, not begged over, just witnessed. And you've been living like a shadow that apologizes for taking up wall space. Don't try to deny it. I can hear the way you apologize in your head. You apologize for your needs before you even know what they are. You apologize for your sadness by calling it tired. You apologize for your anger by calling it stress. You apologize for your loneliness by calling it busy. That's how you survive. You rename the pain so nobody hears it scream. You think you're being mature. You think you're being patient. You think you're being noble. You're being afraid. Afraid to admit the truth. You didn't just lose people. You lost your belief that you were allowed to matter to them. And that belief, that little bright thing, is the one you buried deepest because it felt childish to want it. Like wanting warmth made you weak. So you chose cold. You chose being alone. Not because you like it, but because it's predictable. Because alone is a room where nobody can slam the door in your face. Because you already locked it. You're not healing, you're hiding. And you're proud of it, aren't you? Quietly proud. The pride of the wounded who think enduring in silence is the same as strength. It isn't. It's just endurance. Strength is something else. Strength is looking at what happened and refusing to let it define the shape of your future. Strength is not turning yourself into a smaller target. Strength is not living like a person who expects to be left. But that's what you've done. You walk around with abandonment already written on your skin, and you call it realism. You call it, I've learned. Yeah, you've learned. You've learned how to pre-grieve every relationship before it even begins. You've learned how to keep your heart on a leash so it never runs fast enough to get hurt. You've learned how to smile while you bleed in private. Very impressive, very tidy, very tragic. Now, let's stop pretending you're confused about why you feel like this. You know why. You just don't want to say it out loud, because saying it makes it real. And if it's real, then you can't keep using it as an excuse to sleepwalk through your days. You're lonely, yes. loneliness is not just the absence of people. It's the absence of safety. It's the absence of being able to exhale around someone without bracing for judgment. It's the absence of a face that stays kind when you are not performing. And you've been performing for so long, you forgot what your unperformed self even sounds like. You don't talk, you curate. You don't share, you ration. You don't confess, you hint. Because at some point you tried honesty, and it cost you. Not in some dramatic movie way, no explosions, no grand betrayals, just the slow, humiliating kind where you open your hands and the other person looks away, where they minimize, where they change the subject, where they use your truth like a tool later when it's convenient. That's the kind that teaches you the wrong lesson. It teaches you that vulnerability is dangerous, when the real lesson is that not everyone deserves access. So you took the wrong lesson and turned it into a religion of self-containment. You became the guarded one, the one who says, "I'm okay," even when your chest feels like it's packed with wet cement. The one who shows up, does the work, pays the bills, smiles at the right moments, checks the right boxes, while inside, you're negotiating with a version of yourself that keeps asking, quietly, "Is this it?" And you hate that question, because it sounds ungrateful. You hate it because you were taught that survival should be enough, that if you're not actively drowning, you should stop complaining about being thirsty. But you're not complaining, you're starving. There's a difference. And the starvation is not just for affection, it's for meaning, for dignity, for a life that feels like yours, instead of a life you tolerate because changing it would require you to risk failing publicly. That's the shame, isn't it? The fear of looking foolish. Not the fear of pain. Pain you can handle. You're very good at pain. You've turned pain into a private hobby. The fear is humiliation. The fear is hoping and being seen hoping. The fear is reaching and your hand hanging there in empty air while someone watches. So you stopped reaching, and then you told yourself you were at peace. Peace. You call that peace? That numb little plateau you've built out of lowered expectations and swallowed words? That's not peace. That's sedation. That's you living like you're afraid of your own heartbeat. Because if you let your heart beat too loudly, you might have to admit you want things, real things. You want someone to choose you without you auditioning. You want a friend who doesn't treat you like a backup plan. You want to walk into a room and not feel like you have to earn the right to exist there. You want to wake up and not feel the immediate weight of yesterday's disappointments sitting on your chest like a debt collector. You want to stop replaying old conversations and rewriting them in your head like you can edit your way into being treated better. You want the looping to stop. You want the memory that stings the most, the one you won't say out loud because it makes you feel small. You want it to stop having authority over you. You know the one. That moment you realized you weren't as important to them as they were to you. That moment your stomach dropped and you laughed to cover it. That moment you tried to act casual while your insides went cold. That moment you told yourself, "It's fine," and then went home and stared at the ceiling like it could explain why people can be so careless with hearts. They can be careless because you taught them you would survive it. You trained them. Every time you accepted the crumbs with a grateful smile. Every time you said, "No worries," when there were worries. Every time you stayed quiet when you should have drawn a line. Every time you forgave without accountability because you were afraid that consequences would make them leave. You were bargaining with abandonment. If I don't make a fuss, you won't go. And they went anyway. Not always physically. Sometimes they stayed in the same room and still left you. Left you carrying the emotional weight alone, while they enjoyed your patience like it was a free service. And you let it happen because you confused love with endurance. You confused loyalty with self-erasure. You confused being needed with being valued. And now you're sitting here, full of all these unspoken histories, and you wonder why your chest feels tight when you try to imagine trusting someone again. Because trust to you has become a contract where you do all the giving and the other person does all the deciding. That's not trust. That's submission. That's you trying to buy safety with silence. And it never works. It never worked. It just delayed the moment you had to face the real problem. You don't believe you're worth consistent care. You don't believe it in your bones. You might say it out loud sometimes, you might post it, you might nod when someone else says it, but when it comes time to act like it's true, to demand respect, to walk away from disrespect, to set a boundary without apologizing, you freeze. Because a part of you thinks you should be grateful for whatever attention you can get. And you hate that part of you. You hate it because it feels weak. But it's not weak. It's wounded. It's the part that learned early that love could be conditional, inconsistent, or transactional. The part that learned to stay alert, to anticipate moods, to keep the peace. The part that became so skilled at reading other people that you forgot to read yourself. And now you're exhausted. Not because life is objectively impossible, but because you are carrying yourself like a fragile object in a world that keeps bumping into you. You can't relax because you're always preparing to be hurt again. You call it intuition. It's hypervigilance. You call it being careful. It's fear. And fear has been writing your schedule for years. So here's where it gets ugly, and you don't get to look away. Because if you want strength, real strength, you're going to have to stop being romantic about your suffering. You're going to have to stop treating your pain like it's proof you're deep. Pain is not proof of depth. Pain is proof that something happened and you didn't process it properly. You preserved it. You polished it. You kept it like a relic. You revisit it when you're bored, when you're alone, when you want to punish yourself for being hopeful. You do it like a ritual. You scroll, you remember, you compare, you replay. You hold your worst moments up against other people's highlight reels, and then you act surprised when you feel worthless. And then you say, I'm just being honest with myself. No, you're being cruel. You're using honesty as a disguise for self-attack because it feels familiar. Someone else taught you that voice, and now you keep it alive because it feels like control. If you criticize yourself first, then nobody can surprise you with their criticism. If you assume the worst, then you can't be disappointed. That's your logic, right? It's clever. It's also a trap. Because the same mind that predicts pain starts manufacturing it. The same mind that guards your heart also starves it. And you sit in the middle, like a prisoner and a guard at the same time, wondering why you can't sleep. You want to talk about nights? Let's talk about nights. The hour when everybody else seems to have a place to put their thoughts, and you're left holding yours like hot coals. That's when the mask slips. That's when you feel the raw truth. You've been pretending you're okay for so long, you don't know how to be anything else. That's when you feel the grief. Not just for people who left, but for the version of you that used to believe in simple things. The version of you that could laugh without calculating. the version of you that could trust without keeping score. You lost that version slowly. It didn't die in one event. It died in 1,000 tiny dismissals. Someone forgetting what mattered to you. Someone making you feel like your emotions were inconvenient. Someone asking you to be understanding while they made no effort to understand you. Someone promising, then vanishing. Someone staying, but only halfway. And each time you told yourself to be strong, each time you swallowed the complaint, each time you told yourself you were overreacting. And what happened? You became good at being low maintenance. You became easy to neglect. You became the person people assume will be fine. And you are fine, technically. You're alive. You function. You show up. But fine is not a life. Fine is what you call it when you're afraid to admit you're unhappy, because then you'd have to change something. And change is risk. And risk means you might fail. And failure to you isn't an event. It's a verdict. Because you've been treated like your mistakes were evidence of your unworthiness. So now you cling to perfection, or you avoid trying at all. You either exhaust yourself trying to be unbreakable, or you sabotage yourself so you don't have to face the terror of wanting something and not getting it. That's the dance. Over control or collapse. And when you collapse, you do it quietly. You disappear into yourself. You stop answering messages. You stop initiating. You stop taking up space. You call it protecting your peace. There's that word again. Peace. Listen to me. Peace is not isolation. Peace is not shrinking. Peace is not you sitting alone convincing yourself you don't need anybody while your heart pounds like it's trapped. Peace is clarity. Peace is knowing what you will and will not tolerate. Peace is being able to say, that hurt, without shaking. Peace is being able to walk away from disrespect without begging for an explanation. Peace is the ability to be alone without being at war with yourself. You don't have that yet. What you have is a ceasefire held together by distractions. And distractions don't build a backbone. They just delay the reckoning. So let's have the reckoning. Not the dramatic kind, the honest kind. You have to admit the ways you participated in your own suffering. You have to admit the times you stayed where you were undervalued because leaving would mean facing the emptiness you've been avoiding. You have to admit the times you accepted half love because full love would require you to be fully seen, and being seen is terrifying when you carry shame. You have to admit the times you used your past as a shield. I've been hurt, so I can't. You can. You just don't want to pay the price. The price is discomfort. The price is learning to speak even when your voice trembles. The price is setting boundaries and watching some people disappear because they were only there for what they could take. And that disappearance will sting. But it will also reveal something. They were never yours. You were never losing love. You were losing a habit. And habits feel like love when you've been lonely long enough. I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm here to make you see. And what you need to see is this. Your loneliness has become an identity, and you've been protecting it like it's sacred. Because if you stop being the one who's always alone, then you have to become someone new. And someone new has responsibilities. Someone new has standards. Someone new doesn't get to hide behind the story anymore. Someone new has to do the work. Repair the inner world, rebuild the discipline, clean up the mental habits, stop feeding the wounds with attention. That work is not glamorous. It doesn't look poetic. It looks like you getting up when you don't feel like it. It looks like you praying with focus if you pray. And if you don't, it looks like you sitting in silence and telling the truth to yourself without flinching. It looks like you asking forgiveness where you've wronged others, and forgiving without excusing where you've been wronged. It looks like you stopping the cycle of revenge fantasies and self-pity reruns because they keep you emotionally tied to the people who harmed you. You think you're punishing them by remembering. You're punishing yourself by staying attached. Cut the thread. Not with hatred, with reality. Reality says, what happened, happened. Reality says, you cannot rewrite it. Reality says, you can either build your future from the wound, or you can build it from the lesson. The wound says hide. The lesson says grow. The wound says avoid. The lesson says prepare. The wound says nobody stays. The lesson says choose wisely and become someone worth staying for. That last part scares you because it sounds like blame. It's not blame, it's agency. There's a difference. Blame says you deserved it. Agency says you decide what happens next. And you've been starving for that, whether you admit it or not. Now listen carefully, because this is the part where your mind is going to try to slip away and turn what I'm saying into a vague feeling. Don't. Hold it. Hold the discomfort. Let it sit in your lap like a heavy animal. You've been running from heaviness for so long, you forgot you can carry it. You can. You already have. You just carried it in the wrong direction. You carried it toward numbness, toward isolation, toward empty pride. Carry it toward structure instead. You want to rebuild? Then you start with the smallest, ruthless truth. You cannot be healed by the same behaviors that kept you broken. You cannot think your way out of a cage you keep reinforcing with routine. You cannot wait to feel confident before you act with discipline. Confidence follows evidence. Evidence follows action. Action follows decision. So decide. Decide that your feelings will no longer be your commander. They can be your messenger, but not your master. You've been living like every emotion is a court order. Sad? Cancel everything. Anxious? Hide. Lonely? Spiral. Angry? Swallow it until it turns into bitterness. Stop. Emotions are weather. You don't worship the weather. You don't obey the weather. You prepare for it. You dress accordingly. You build shelter. You keep walking. That's what discipline is. Walking in weather. And you've been acting like the storm is proof you should lie down. The storm is proof you should build. Build sleep. Build food. Build movement. Build work. Build skill. Build routine. Build a clean inner language. Your inner language matters more than you think. Every time you call yourself pathetic, you carve a groove in your brain and your body follows it. Every time you label yourself unlovable, you start interpreting neutral events as confirmation. Someone is busy, you hear rejection. Someone is quiet, you hear abandonment. Someone forgets, you hear you don't matter. Then you react from that story, and you create the very distance you fear. That's the sad magic trick you've been pulling on yourself. So rewrite the language, not with fake positivity. No, don't insult yourself with that, but with accuracy. Accurate sounds like, I feel lonely right now, not, I am alone forever. Accurate sounds like, that hurt and I can handle it, not, this proves I'm weak. Accurate sounds like, they chose what they chose, not, I was not enough. You make the pain smaller by making the story honest. The story you tell is either a blade or a tool. You've been using it as a blade. Turn it into a tool. And then, this is the part you've been avoiding. You stop outsourcing your worth. You stop waiting for a message to decide whether you matter today. You stop letting someone else's attention be the sun your whole life revolves around. Because that's not love. That's orbiting. Love is a partnership, not a hostage situation. And if you keep treating people like oxygen, you will keep suffocating when they walk away. So breathe without them. Not as revenge, not as pride, just as maturity. You learn to sit with yourself and not beg the silence to change. You learn to confront the memories without drowning in them. You learn to face the parts of you that feel unchosen and still treat them with dignity. Dignity. That's the word you've been missing. Not happiness. Dignity. Happiness comes and goes. Dignity stays if you build it. Dignity is waking up and doing what you said you would do. Dignity is keeping your promises to yourself. Dignity is lowering your gaze from people who like controlling you with inconsistency. Dignity is refusing to chase. You can invite, you can offer, you can be kind, but you do not chase. Chasing turns you into a clown for someone else's ego, and you've played that role enough. You've laughed at jokes that cut you because you didn't want to be difficult. You've agreed to things that drained you because you didn't want to be left out. You've given more than you had because you thought generosity would buy permanence. It doesn't. Permanence comes from character, from shared values, from consistency, from people who fear harming you because they respect you, not people who fear losing you because they need you. You want better? Then become better. Not in the way that begs to be loved, in the way that makes you unrecognizable to the old patterns. You become the kind of person who can say no without shaking, the kind of person who can be alone without collapsing, the kind of person who can love without losing themselves. And if you're thinking, that sounds cold, good. Cold is clarity when you've been burning in confusion. Cold is the water that wakes you up. You don't need more warmth from strangers. You need a spine. You need principles. You need standards. You need to stop calling endurance a virtue when it's just fear in a fancy coat. Endurance becomes virtue only when it's attached to something true. When you endure for growth, for integrity, for duty, for becoming. Not when you endure disrespect because you're afraid you won't find better. Better exists, but you won't recognize it if you're still addicted to familiar pain. So break the addiction. Withdrawal will hurt. You will feel the emptiness you've been medicating with attention and fantasy. Let it hurt. Not because you deserve pain, but because pain is the signal that your old self is dying. And something in you needs to die. Not you, not your life. Don't even let your mind twist it there. No, what needs to die is the habit of abandoning yourself. The habit of making yourself small. The habit of treating your heart like it's a nuisance. Kill that habit. Starve it. Replace it with ritual. Replace it with discipline. Replace it with a daily proof that you are not at the mercy of other people's moods. And then, when when you can stand alone without hatred in your chest, you will be able to stand with others without needing them to hold you up. That's strength. That's the kind of strength nobody can steal, because it isn't given, it's built. And when you're built, when you're finally built, you're going to look back at this version of you with a kind of grief that doesn't destroy you. You'll grieve the years you spent begging silently, the nights you spent staring at your phone like it was a judge, the mornings you spent dragging yourself through life because you thought your sadness was a personality trait instead of a wound. You'll grieve the way you tolerated being an afterthought. You'll grieve the times you stayed quiet when you should have spoken, the times you spoke when you should have walked away, the times you gave your loyalty to people who treated it like a discount card. You'll grieve, and then you'll forgive. Not because they earned it, but because you're done carrying them. Forgiveness is not letting someone back into your life. Forgiveness is taking your hand off the hot stove, and you've been holding the stove like it's a sacred object. Let go. There's something else waiting on the other side of that grip. Stillness. Not the dead stillness you've been living in, the alive stillness. The kind where you can sit in a room alone and your thoughts don't immediately turn into a courtroom. The kind where you don't need noise to drown out your own voice because your own voice is no longer your enemy. But to get there, you're going to have to do something you're terrified of. You're going to have to tell the truth without drama. No performance, no pity, just truth. The truth is you were hurt. The truth is you were neglected. The truth is you were embarrassed. The truth is you were betrayed in small ways that added up, and you kept smiling, and that smile became a habit, and the habit became a mask, and the mask became your face. The truth is you learned to love people who couldn't love you back the way you needed, and you called it patience. The truth is you stayed because leaving felt like admitting you weren't chosen, and you would rather be half chosen than face the empty space where your hope used to be. The truth is you've been punishing yourself for other people's failures. You've been treating your sensitivity like a defect instead of a measurement tool. Sensitivity isn't weakness. Uncontrolled sensitivity is weakness. Sensitivity with discipline is power. It means you notice what others miss. It means you can read a room. It means you can understand pain. But if you don't direct it, it will direct you straight into exhaustion. So direct it. Take your mind back. That's not a poetic phrase, it's a practical war. Your mind has been occupied by ghosts. Ghosts of conversations, ghosts of what-ifs, ghosts of versions of you that might have been if someone had treated you better. Stop feeding the ghosts. They don't get a seat at your table anymore. When the memory shows up, you acknowledge it. You learn what it came to teach, and you send it away. When the urge to scroll shows up, you recognize it as hunger, and you feed yourself something real. Work, movement, prayer, reading, service, creation. When the loneliness shows up, you don't beg it to leave. You sit with it like a stern teacher. You ask it what it's pointing to. Usually it's pointing to the same thing. You need purpose. People can be company, but they cannot be your purpose. You keep trying to use relationships to fill the hole where purpose should be. It doesn't work. It makes you clingy. It makes you anxious. It makes you tolerate nonsense. Purpose makes you steady. Purpose makes you selective. Purpose makes you dangerous in a quiet way, dangerous to your old patterns. You want to stop being crushed by silence? then make the silence useful. Use it to build skill. Use it to build endurance. Use it to build spiritual depth without showing off. Use it to build patience without bitterness. Use it to build strength that doesn't need applause. The world is full of loud people with soft cores. Become the opposite. Quiet with a hard core. Not hard like cruel, hard like solid, hard like consistent, hard like your values don't bend because someone raised their voice or withheld affection. You've been trained by inconsistency. Retrain yourself with consistency. Wake up at a time you respect. Keep your space clean. Keep your word. Eat with care. Speak with intention. Stop telling lies to make people comfortable. Stop laughing when something humiliates you. Stop calling disrespect joking. Stop confusing chaos with passion. Stop confusing attention with love. Stop confusing being wanted with being safe. Safety is not a thrill. Safety is boring in the best way. Safety is someone showing up when they said they would. Safety is you showing up for yourself when nobody else does. And here's the twist you didn't expect. When you become safe for yourself, you stop attracting people who enjoy your instability. You stop entertaining them. You stop being a playground for their moods. You stop being easy. And some people will call you cold. Let them. Cold is what weak manipulators call boundaries. Cold is what users call standards. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to live with yourself without disgust. That's the goal. Live with yourself. Be the kind of company you can tolerate in the dark. Because that's where you really live, isn't it? In the dark, in the quiet, when nobody's watching and you're not performing. Be someone you can respect there. That respect is the foundation. From that foundation, relationships become a choice, not a rescue mission. So yes, be alone if that's what it takes for you to finally stop begging for crumbs. Be alone long enough to hear your real voice under the noise. Be alone long enough to recognize which thoughts are yours and which ones were planted by people who benefited from your insecurity. Be alone long enough to feel the ache without scrambling to soothe it with anything that smiles at you. Be alone long enough to practice loyalty to yourself. Because loyalty to yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love with steadiness if you don't have steadiness. You cannot ask for respect if you don't respect your own time, your own energy, your own boundaries. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not telling you to hate people. I'm not telling you to become a stone. I'm telling you to become a person with weight, with gravity. A person who doesn't float toward whoever offers a little warmth. A person who can sit with discomfort and not immediately turn it into panic. A person who can be kind without being easy to exploit. Because you've been exploited, haven't you? Maybe not in some obvious dramatic way, just in the quiet way. They took your listening. They took your effort. They took your understanding. They took your forgiveness. They took your time. And they gave you confusion in return. Confusion is the currency of people who don't want to be accountable. They keep you confused, so you keep trying. They keep you guessing, so you keep investing. They keep you hoping, so you keep waiting. And you waited. You waited like a loyal dog by a door that didn't open. That's the image you hate because it makes you feel small. but it's accurate. And accuracy is mercy, because once you see it clearly, you can stop doing it. You can stop waiting by doors. You can build your own house. And when someone knocks, you can decide whether they're worthy of entering. You decide, not them, you. That's the shift. That's the rebuild. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's a quiet transfer of authority from the world to your spine. And it begins with one sentence you need to learn how to say without your throat closing. No. No to the late replies that only come when they're bored. No to the friendships that only exist when you're useful. No to the jokes that make you feel smaller. No to the relationships that require you to disappear to keep the peace. No to the habit of betraying yourself to avoid conflict. Conflict is not the enemy. Meaningless conflict is. Necessary conflict is the price of dignity. You've avoided it and paid with your self-respect. Enough. Stand up. Not physically, inside. Stand up inside. The next time your mind tries to drag you back into the old film reel, those scenes where you were ignored, those lines you wish you'd said, stop the reel. Ask, what is the lesson? The lesson is not, I am unworthy. The lesson is, I need boundaries. The lesson is, I need standards. The lesson is, I need to choose people who choose me. The lesson is, I need to stop explaining my pain to people who enjoy causing it. The lesson is, I need to stop looking for closure from hands that opened the wound. Closure is not a gift they give you. Closure is a decision you make. I will not return to what disrespected me. That's closure. And it hurts, yes, because part of you still wants them to realize what they lost. Let me tell you something you don't want to hear. Even if they realize it, it won't heal you. Because the real wound is not that they didn't choose you. The real wound is that you kept choosing them after they proved they wouldn't. That's where your power is. That's also where your responsibility is. So take it. Take the responsibility without turning it into shame. Shame says you're stupid. Responsibility says you're learning. Shame freezes you. Responsibility strengthens you. You don't need to hate your past self. Your past self did what it knew to survive. But your future self needs more. Your future self needs training, needs discipline, needs truth, needs a life that isn't built around avoiding pain, but around earning respect. Respect from yourself first. And when you have that, the loneliness changes. It stops being a prison and becomes a workshop. It becomes a place where you sharpen, where you reflect, where you become the kind of person who can walk into any room and not beg to be seen, because you already see yourself. You already know who you are. You already know what you're building. You already know what you will not trade away for temporary comfort. That's when silence becomes strength. Not because you're empty, because you're full. Full of purpose, full of restraint, full of calm, full of a steady heat that doesn't need to burn the whole world just to prove it exists. And then, one day, you'll look at the word alone, and it won't feel like a sentence. It'll feel like a skill, like a muscle you trained. like a room you can sit in without shaking. And from that room, you'll choose your people carefully. You'll love with clarity. You'll give without losing yourself. And if they leave, you'll feel the sting. You'll respect the sting. And you'll keep walking. Because you will finally understand the simplest, brutal truth you've been avoiding your whole life. You can miss someone and still refuse to return to the version of you that begged to be treated right. You wanted me to wear that exact famous grin, borrow that exact famous voice, copy that exact rhythm you've heard 1,000 times until it feels like it belongs to your memory more than it belongs to the screen. But I can't do an imitation of a real person's performance, so you'll have to settle for something original, something that still looks you straight in the face and doesn't blink. Because the truth doesn't need a costume to hurt, and you don't need a familiar mask to finally admit what you've been hiding from yourself, do you? You just need someone to keep talking long enough that your excuses run out of oxygen. And here you are, still breathing, still listening, still pretending you're only curious when really you're desperate for a voice that doesn't soften the edges for your comfort. Because comfort has been your drug and your curse. Comfort is what made you stay quiet. Comfort is what made you accept half effort. Comfort is what made you call your own needs drama and your own standards too much. Comfort is what made you tolerate that slow drip of disrespect until you couldn't even tell the difference between love and attention anymore. And now you want a dark little sermon about loneliness, like it's entertainment. Like you can taste pain safely through someone else's words and feel cleansed without changing anything. But I'm not here to perform a bedtime story for your wounds. I'm here to press on them until you stop flinching and start healing like an adult. And healing like an adult means you stop lying about what you want. You want to be chosen. You want to be valued. You want to be spoken to with care. You want someone to hold your presence like it matters. And you've been telling yourself you don't want those things because wanting them makes you vulnerable. And vulnerability scares you more than emptiness. Because emptiness, at least, is familiar. Emptiness is the room you know how to arrange. Emptiness is the routine you've mastered. Wake up, move, work, smile when required, disappear when it gets too personal, rinse and repeat. So you treat your heart like a tenant you keep threatening with eviction. You keep it on a short lease, month to month, no long-term commitments, because you're afraid that if you let it settle, if you let it unpack, it'll start making demands you're not ready to meet. It'll start asking you to call people out, to walk away, to speak plainly, to risk rejection for the sake of self-respect. And you've been avoiding that risk by building a life where you can always say, it's not that deep, while inside everything is deep and heavy and unspoken. And you know what's worse than being alone? Being with people and still feeling like you're not allowed to exist unless you're useful. Being with people and still editing yourself mid-sentence. being with people and still feeling the chill of your own invisibility. So you went to the extreme and decided at least alone is honest. At least alone doesn't pretend. At least alone doesn't betray you. Except it does. Because you betrayed yourself the moment you decided your pain was proof you should isolate instead of proof you should refine. And refinement is the word you keep dodging. Because refinement is not a mood, it's a practice. And practice is boring, and you hate boring. You hate boring because boring doesn't distract you from the quiet truth that you've been living in reaction to old injuries, not in alignment with your actual values. You've been letting the past steer the car while you sit in the passenger seat calling it fate, calling it personality, calling it just how I am. And that phrase, just how I am, is the laziest lie you've ever told yourself. It's a blanket you throw over a messy room so you can pretend it's clean. But it's not clean, it's just hidden. And hidden things rot. They rot in the dark. They rot in silence. They rot under, I'm fine. And the smell of that rot is what you call tiredness, what you call irritability, what you call losing interest, what you call numbness, what you call, I don't know what's wrong with me. Even though you do know, you always know. You just don't want to say it, because saying it would force you to act. And action would expose you, and exposure would risk humiliation. And humiliation, there it is again, your oldest nightmare, the one you keep dressing up as dignity. You say you want dignity, but what you mean is you want to avoid looking foolish. You want to avoid being the person who cared more. You want to avoid being the person who tried and didn't get it. You want to avoid giving anyone the satisfaction of seeing you need something. Because you've been around people who fed on your need like it was proof you were beneath them. And you learn to starve yourself to avoid giving them that meal. But starving doesn't make you noble. It makes you brittle. And brittle people either break or become bitter. And you've been flirting with bitterness like it's a friend who understands you. Bitterness sits next to you late at night and whispers, see, they never cared. And you nod because bitterness feels like certainty. It feels like armor. But it's not armor. It's rust. It's corrosion. It eats your ability to see good when it arrives. It teaches you to interpret kindness as a setup. It teaches you to treat every invitation like a trap. It teaches you to keep score. And the problem with keeping score is you stop living. You start auditing. You start turning every interaction into a transaction. I gave this, they gave that. And maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. But the deeper issue is that you're still living as if your worth is negotiable. Like you can bargain your way into being treated right if you offer enough patience, enough understanding, enough effort, enough silence. And you've offered all of that, haven't you? You've offered silence like a sacrifice. You've offered forgiveness like a discount. You've offered access to your inner world to people who treated it like a hallway they could walk through without taking off their shoes. And then you wondered why you felt dirty afterward. why you felt drained, why you felt angry at yourself. Because every time you let someone cross your boundaries, you weren't just letting them disrespect you. You were teaching yourself that your own discomfort doesn't matter. You were reinforcing the belief that peace is keeping everyone else comfortable. And that belief is poison, because it turns you into a servant of other people's moods. And you're tired of being a servant. You just don't know how to stop without becoming cruel. And that's your other lie. You think the only alternatives are being a doormat or being a monster. So you stay a doormat because at least you can say you're good. But goodness without boundaries is not goodness. It's fear wearing a clean shirt. It's fear trying to look respectable. And you don't need respectability right now. You need courage. And courage is messy. Courage looks like awkward conversations. Courage looks like saying, "That doesn't work for me," and letting the silence hang. Courage looks like not over-explaining your boundaries to people who only want explanations so they can negotiate around them. Courage looks like losing some people, yes, because some people were only there for your compliance. And when compliance ends, the relationship ends. And that ending will hurt, and you'll want to call it proof you're unlovable. But it won't be proof of that. It will be proof that you're finally choosing yourself. And choosing yourself is not selfish. It's the first act of responsibility you owe to your own life. Because nobody else is going to live it for you. Nobody else is going to carry your consequences. Nobody else is going to wake up inside your thoughts and deal with the echo. You are the one who has to live with you. And right now, living with you feels like living with someone you don't trust. Because you've broken your own promises too many times. Promises like, "I won't let that happen again." Promises like, "Next time I'll speak up." Promises like, "I'm done tolerating this." And then next time comes, and you freeze, you smile, you shrink, you rationalize. You tell yourself you're being mature, and afterward you feel that familiar disgust, that sour taste of self-betrayal, and you try to scrub it away by blaming the other person. But blame won't scrub it. Blame is just perfume over sweat. You want clean? Then stop breaking your own word. Because self-trust is built the same way trust with others is built. Consistency, honesty, follow-through. And you haven't been consistent with yourself. You've been consistent with your fear, and fear has never deserved that loyalty. Fear is a liar with good marketing. It sells you safety and delivers stagnation. It sells you control and delivers loneliness. It sells you peace and delivers numbness. And you keep buying because you don't know how to tolerate the heat of growth. Growth burns. Growth embarrasses. Growth makes you look inexperienced, and you hate looking inexperienced. Because you've been forced to be strong for so long, you don't know how to be a beginner without feeling ashamed. But every strong person you admire was once a beginner. They just didn't let their ego turn learning into humiliation. They let learning be learning. And you need to do that now. You need to learn how to be alone without turning it into a prison. Learn how to be with people without turning it into dependence. Learn how to feel emotions without making them your identity. Because you've been treating emotions like tattoos. I'm anxious, I'm broken, I'm lonely. No, you feel anxious. You have wounds. You experience loneliness. Those are states, not names. And names have power. You name yourself broken long enough, and you start living like repair is impossible. You name yourself lonely long enough, and you start interpreting solitude as rejection. You name yourself unchosen long enough, and you start behaving like a person who should be grateful for crumbs. So change the names, not to flatter yourself, but to free yourself. Because your mind needs room to move. It needs room to grow. And right now you've boxed it in with labels. And labels are easy. Labels are lazy. Labels save you from the harder work of asking, what do I do now? And now is all you have. Not yesterday's scene, not tomorrow's fantasy. Now. And in this now, you have choices you keep pretending you don't have. Choices like turning your phone face down and sitting in silence long enough to hear what you're avoiding. Choices like writing the truth you keep swallowing. Choices like moving your body even when your mood says no. Choices like finishing the task you keep delaying because finishing it would prove you're capable, and capability would remove your favorite excuse. Choices like apologizing where you've been wrong instead of defending your ego. Choices like forgiving where you've been wronged without inviting the wrong back into your house. Because forgiveness is not access, and you've been confusing the two. You've been offering access as a way to prove you're forgiving, but that's not forgiveness. That's self-neglect dressed up as virtue. You can forgive and still lock the door. You can forgive and still keep distance. You can forgive and still say, I will not be treated that way again. And you should. Because the person you are becoming cannot keep dragging the person you were behind them like a heavy chain. You've got to let the old self sit down and rest. You've got to take the wheel. And taking the wheel means you stop letting your day be decided by your wounds. You build a schedule that respects your future more than it comforts your past. You build habits that make you stronger when nobody's watching. Because when nobody's watching is the only time that matters. Anyone can perform discipline in front of an audience. The real test is what you do in the quiet. And the quiet is where you've been losing. Not because you're weak, but because you've been untrained. And untrained does not mean doomed. Untrained means you can train. And training is what turns suffering into skill. Training is what turns loneliness into solitude. Training is what turns heartbreak into discernment. Training is what turns anger into boundaries instead of bitterness. And boundaries, listen to me, boundaries are not walls. They're doors with locks. They let the right people in and keep the wrong people out. And you've been living with your doors wide open because you were afraid that locking them would mean nobody would come. And maybe for a while nobody will, and that will sting. Because you'll be sitting in a clean house hearing the echo, and you'll think, did I make a mistake? And that's when you'll be tempted to unlock the door for the first stranger who knocks, just to fill the silence. But don't. Don't trade your dignity for noise. Don't trade your future for temporary relief. Because relief is a short-term drug, and you've had enough drugs. You need nutrition now. You need something that builds, and building takes time. Building takes patience, and you've been impatient with your healing because you keep comparing your inside to other people's outside. You keep looking at their smiles and assuming their lives are smooth. You keep looking at their relationships and assuming they're secure. You keep looking at their confidence and assuming it's natural. And you don't see their nights. You don't see their compromises. You don't see their private wars. And even if you did, it wouldn't matter, because your life is not a competition of appearances. It's a responsibility of character. You either build character or you build excuses. And you've been building excuses quietly. Excuses like, I'm too tired, I'm too busy, it's not the right time, I don't feel like it. And those excuses feel reasonable because they're wrapped in fatigue. But underneath the fatigue is fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of being seen trying, fear of discovering that maybe you weren't ready, and you hate that. You hate feeling unready because you've had to be ready for so long. But readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. You decide to show up and you become ready through repetition. And repetition is what you've avoided because repetition is boring. Repetition is humble. Repetition is admitting you are not special in the way your pain tries to convince you you are. And yes, your pain has been trying to make you special. It has been whispering, nobody understands you. And you've held on to that because it makes you feel like your suffering has meaning. But suffering doesn't automatically have meaning. You have to give it meaning through what you do next. And what you do next has to be rooted in principles, not moods. Principles like honesty, restraint, consistency, humility, patience, service, self-respect. And you're going to roll your eyes at service because you're tired. You're thinking, I can barely hold myself together. Now you want me to help others? But listen. Service is not you becoming a martyr. Service is you remembering you are not the center of your story. Service is a way to step out of the mirror and stop staring at your own wounds all day. Because staring at wounds doesn't heal them. It just makes them your personality. And you've been turning pain into personality because it gives you an identity when you don't know who you are without it. So yes, go do something useful, not to earn love, not to earn praise, but to earn perspective. Perspective is medicine. Perspective reminds you that you can still contribute, that you can still give, that you can still build. And building is the opposite of spiraling. Building takes your mind off the old scenes. Building gives your hands a job. And your hands need a job because when your hands are idle, your mind becomes a vandal. It starts scribbling worst-case stories on every blank wall. It starts rewriting your past as a single narrative of humiliation. It starts telling you that you were always the problem. And that's not true. But it's also not helpful to argue with it endlessly, because arguing with your mind can become another form of obsession. Another form of staying stuck. Sometimes the best way to silence a destructive thought is to outwork it. Not in a frantic way, in a steady way, in a way that says, I heard you, and I'm moving anyway. Don't forget to like, FID, and subscribe, Fundodi, to my YouTube channel. Vevo Club, Joker. Five-Volt Club. Join the club. The Joker era just started. Some Joker speech Joker quotes Joker motivation.